Hey, welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this evening. We're live on
Talking Niagara this evening.
okay, not Talking
Spin
Niagara.
Legal.
Spin Legal.
And by the way, it's Peter's birthday.
Spin Legal episode number 42.
And let's say that he's just turned 39 today. And congratulations, Peter.
So 39 again. Yeah, I know. So welcome to Spin Legal on November 13th, 2024. Hey, we've only got 7 weeks minus 1 day till the end of the year. Hey?
Scary,
yeah? Okay. So think about that, people. In 7 weeks' time, it will be the New Year's Day, right?
Yeah, because this was our New Year's project, and we're continuing to try to do continuous and quality improvement. And we hope that in 2025 that our episodes will become even more exciting, maybe include guest speakers and include an intro.
I'm hoping we can get guest speakers in. Okay, so welcome to Spin Legal on November 13th, 2024, episode number 42 with myself and Angela. And we're partners at Invictus Legal. And tonight our topic is business clients that are Karens and Kevins. What are your legal rights? There we go. That's a very important question. Okay, so as I say, you can contact us at Invictus Legal on 905-688-5598, or you can email Angela at weareinvictus.legal, or myself at Peter at weareinvictus.legal, and visit our website at https, don't forget that important S, / weareinvictus.legal. Okay? So today's topic, as we just said, is for businesses that have Karens and Kevins as clients. So first things first, what are Karens and Kevins?
Okay. We started hearing about these things during the pandemic, when people would be calling people on the phone, or people would go into a store when they had all those restrictions on where people had to wear masks and no more than a certain number of people can go into a store. And there are certain people out there who felt that they were entitled. They should just go into the store anyways, and they shouldn't have to wear a mask because it was against their constitutional rights. And I think I saw a film one time that there was one lady who went into a Costco store, and then and they caught her in because she wasn't wearing a mask. And although a member of the Costco, but she wasn't wearing a mask. And then she was arguing with somebody. Somebody came up to her and told her, and even had a mask in their hand to give to her. And then she just sat down. She actually sat down on the ground and then just said, "No, I'm not leaving." He says, I'm exercising my constitutional rights. I shouldn't have to wear a mask because I'm an American. I should." So it was going on. And then what happened was, I think there were 2 security guards helped her get up, and then pretty well frog marched her out of the store.
Yeah.
While she was kicking and screaming about her human rights. And this was a big thing during the pandemic. There are a lot of different examples of that type of behavior.
I thought security guards didn't do that anymore. You can't touch a person anymore, can you?
They don't aggressively touch them. They're just helping her up. And then after they did that, they were leading her out. They didn't push her.
Okay. So, yeah, but there's a lot of examples. And hey, everybody's probably lost their temper at a store somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You promised me my holiday booking would be ready by today so that I can happily get on the plane tomorrow. What have you done to me, kind of thing?
Yeah. It is your fault, Peter. You're the one. That's your fault. I'm going to sue you. Okay. I mean, there's so many people.
We've all been there. We've all been there. We've all seen that. We've done that.
People do that. Or maybe once or twice in our life, we've been that. We've been that Karen or Kevin. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there are people.
But again, I think there's a difference between what you were saying about this person sitting on the floor. I'm not moving.
Yeah, they just have this thing because they're emphasizing their rights. Hey, when their rights become your problems.
I actually wonder some of those times. It's like, yeah, so what rights are you talking about? Tell me the section, the article number, the subsection, exactly. Quote me the law.
Yeah. And then during the pandemic, then there are people saying, "Oh, the pandemic's just a hoax. They're trying to get us all into believing that this,
Well,
they can control us all." And I said, "Oh, really? Where did you learn from that?" "Oh, just go on to World Economic Forum, and then there's a website that tells everybody about this." So I guess all the Karens and Kevins went on that website, and that's where they learned about how everybody's being controlled, by
yeah,
this
okay.
kind of, I don't know what it is.
Everybody's being controlled. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
by
Okay.
whatever it is they think they're being controlled by, so, but anyways, they'll go into a store,
Okay, so,
and
so
but you're just going into a store. I mean, you're just going in, doing some shopping or whatever you have to do. What has that got to do with the World Economic Forum?
yeah.
Absolutely not.
So before the pandemic, there was a grand total of 12,192 conspiracy theories in the world, all time, right?
Yep, all time, ever since the beginning of the earth.
After the pandemic, there were 29 million just for the pandemic period alone.
Yep.
Is that right? Is that
Yep.
where we are?
Yep. Yep. It's just so
and,
much.
and hey, sorry, I have to say, thank you, Stats Canada. I plead guilty to actually making those stats up off the top of my head 3 minutes ago.
Yep, out of a study that you made up yourself. Yep.
Absolutely. It was a study I made up myself, but I think you get the gist of where I'm coming from.
Yep.
Okay, so how do we recognize these stupid idiots? I don't know. I think they've always been with us, these people.
Yeah, they've always been with us, but maybe not as often as we are getting them now. And I'm not talking about just certain businesses, but every businesses have encountered them. No matter what you are, whether you're a hairstylist, whether you're a Costco, whether you're running a restaurant, or you're a law firm, doesn't matter who you are. There's always somebody who is going to be the Karen or the Kevin of the week, it seems.
Well, yeah, but then again, then you've got these ones that have got this ability to write Google reviews. Well, this is the worst hairstylist I've ever seen. He took my hair from the left and he put it to the right. What good was that? Like, and the hairstylist is going to be, I have looked up in our booking system, and you've never ever booked with us. Sorry,
I don't know any Sam Snyder. I've never heard of you.
Yeah. Okay. So we have Betty Zoom coming on, saying hi.
Hello, Betty. How you doing?
And hi, Betty. Yeah, thank you for coming on. This is a different type of show than the one we had this morning. And I do thank you for your input from this morning. So,
and I love that little dog of yours. Got a little picture of a dog in her profile there.
Yeah. So, hi,
we
Betty.
recognize them. These are people who are not necessarily real customers that have real concerns. Hey, like, I'm not saying that there are some customers that are going to have some concerns, and sometimes they need to bring a product back. Sometimes they have to bring it to your attention that you just sold out 5 of the same make and model of a car that all failed within the first 6 months. Right? And that you have to do something about it. And yes, you have to act on it. Hey? Or that you just served some food that has been causing 16 people who went there, and it caused them to get the stomach flu, salmonella. So you have to do something about these things. Hey?
Yeah, but you see, everybody makes mistakes, right?
Everybody makes mistakes. We're all human.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And this was this is what we have to do. That we have to do that as business people, because we're trying to make our customers happy, trying to provide a professional service. But when we're trying to provide a professional service or to provide quality goods, we are not perfect. We're not gods. We can't make everything perfect. Okay?
And everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes sometime along the line. Hey, I spell, happy birthday. I'm doing the birthday cakes, and I spell happy birthday, Darren. But instead of saying Darren, it says Dakin. and Okay, no need to throw that birthday cake in my face.
Yeah, or it says happy birthday, Peter, but it says happy birthday, Petra.
Yeah.
Just change your gender there.
Yeah. Okay. So we were saying they complain about their rights, they throw tantrums, and is that your problem?
No, they have, but we do have to put some control on it, though. Okay, there are people who will go into places and they'll throw tantrums, and perhaps they even have a history of throwing tantrums at various places. And they usually are well known, hey, by certain businesses, like say the whole Hamilton business community downtown might know about George who keeps walking in and throwing tantrums. Hey, pretty
Well,
soon he starts getting kicked out of businesses and then maybe kicked out of entire streets. These are
okay.
people that we don't want.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Every business has a right to refuse people. We hear about, and it's well known in pubs that, George, you've had too much to drink, get out, that
Yep,
type of thing, right?
yep,
Or Angela, you're barred. You're never coming in here again.
yeah.
You're done.
Because every time you come in here, you throw a tantrum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've all heard of those sort of things, but
yeah,
every business has the right to choose who they want to do business with.
yeah, exactly. And this is right. You have a right to refuse service to people that you know who are your Karens and Kevins. I'm not just talking about someone who might be on one occasion or whatever, but people who come in and who are regularly Karens and Kevins, or
Yeah.
people who just create a lot of problems. Like there's
Yeah.
the dine and dash type. If you're running a restaurant,
Yeah.
and they'll decide that they don't want to pay for the food because it wasn't good. It
Yeah.
wasn't good enough. So that's it. I'm not paying for it. So they leave. Hey,
Okay. But there's an important thing that we have to understand. First of all, of course, yeah, you got a right to refuse, but don't refuse them on human rights grounds. Oh,
right.
I can't stand you because you're kind, or
Yeah,
always
can't even imply
trouble.
that about your kind,
Yeah, yeah.
whether it's a racial group or an ethnic group,
Well,
or blacks or a religious
and
group.
for example, there was a case in America a few years ago where these big Christian cake manufacturer made this big thing out of refusing a gay couple, refusing to make a cake for a gay couple's wedding. Well, they got into a lot of trouble about that because they were talking about, they refused on what we would count human rights grounds, right? A
Mhm.
gay couple, if they'd have just gone in there and had looked at the book and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're fully booked for April 25th. There's no way we're going to get a cake ready for your wedding on that day." Nine times out of 10, that would have been okay. Sorry,
Yeah, they just move on.
they
Right?
just move on. I'm sorry, your loss of business. We're moving on to Joey's next door.
Yeah. But the only thing is, sometimes these people could be
Well, I was
planning
going to say the
this, and
business
then they
owner.
just bring in the next person who is a friend of theirs who happened to be a straight couple planning a wedding on the same day and want to order a cake on the same day. And if the business says, yeah, that's right, we could do this, then they're a witness, and then they have in the states they have a particular place you can go about human rights, and they can complain about that.
Yeah,
In
it's the
Canada, there
same.
was a
It's the
similar
same as
case.
here.
In
It's the same
Canada,
as
there was a similar case. It was done by a printer, by Scott Brocky. He ran a printing shop, and he was encountered by a group of the LGBTQ. I guess it was printing out pride flyers or something for an event, and he refused them. And then the group took him to the Human Rights
But
Tribunal, and
again,
then he got fined $15,000, and then he appealed that, and the divisional court upheld it. So you really have to be very, very careful about refusing service on human rights grounds. I know you might have a religious belief that you don't want to work with certain groups of people. Maybe you don't agree with certain issues, okay? But that should not be part of your business. Okay? Because when you're in a business that generally is in business to serve the public, you have to be very, very
Well,
careful about.
and again, given that any business could refuse anybody, half the time you wouldn't know that you were being discriminated against most of the time, would you?
Well, Peter does this sort of thing, and he will say that. But I'm saying, but a lot of people would do this because they want to speak about their principles, right? And be very, very careful about that, right? And there are ways that you can do things where you're focusing on particular markets and that sort of thing, and trying to avoid that sort of thing. But
Well,
but like
focusing,
that, like my practice here, there's a lot of people who come in here. We have a range of political opinions among clients. We got a range of races, ethnic background, languages, English first language, English 10th language. We have ages of all ages, all stripes. We just come in and they work with us.
yeah, I was
Representing
surprised.
different
I was
grounds.
I was surprised at the one we were, So one we were talking to the other day. So it was a Middle Eastern gentleman who's a landlord accusing a Middle Eastern tenant of being racist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this happens. And then
interesting.
you have to work on these things, and these things where you have to look at the facts of the case. Like in our particular business, we have to look at the facts of each case. If they
Yeah,
don't have a case, we don't have to take it. We can tell them that we don't believe they have a case. We write them a letter, an opinion letter. Thank you for coming in, but if you feel you have this is your statute of limitations.
yeah.
Hey, and good luck in the future. Hey, because we cannot deny people on human rights grounds. Hey,
Okay, so here's a question for you. So we got a way to handle these difficult clients, and this is not really a legal thing. This is just practical, downright practical advice. And I think
and
there's
this
about five.
becomes whether you're a hardware store, a
Yeah,
Costco, doesn't matter what you are, what kind of business you're
yeah,
operating.
yeah. So there's a way to handle a client, and I think it's generally agreed that there's a way. First of all, there's a thing we need to de-escalate. Perhaps important throughout the entire process is just call somebody over to be a witness, so they can witness the whole of what's going on. Try to de-escalate the situation. Listen to what they
Yeah,
have to
try
say.
to find out what they have to say. Like, get there, don't yell, because when you yell, you're encouraging them to yell.
Yeah,
Right? So if you could just talk to them calmly, get them to de-escalate. I remember one time I had a fellow coming in and he's pounding my conference table, and he apparently had did some vandalism downtown, all because WSIB made a negative decision against him. So what I told him, I said, well, I guess pounding my conference table and smashing buildings downtown helps change WSIB's mind. And
yeah,
so instead of one problem, now you got two or three problems.
yeah. And hey, and here's my bill for $250 for
Yeah,
pounding my
now you got
conference
to pay
table.
me to help you. I
Yeah.
got him out of both problems, and it worked out well.
Okay, so obviously part of listening is to see whether they have a legitimate claim. Somebody, coming into the business, you bastards, you always da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da. You never pay attention to what I need. Every time you do anything, da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, there's never, there's always,
Yeah.
these phrases that they use, and you guys are retarded. You're so stupid. You guys want to do that. Like, absolutely crazy stuff. Hey. So there's a lot of people who have that, and yes, they might coming in and I said, okay, let's look at what you got. Okay, what's the issue here? Okay, and I'm not going to be hearing you if you're going to be yelling at me. Hey, but can you give me what you have, and let's see what we can do to help you. Hey, and let's take a look at it. So they give you something, and it looks like they have some issues or some problems with the product that you sold them 3 weeks ago. Hey,
Mm.
and the product keeps breaking down every time they try to work it. And I said, okay, let's take a look at this, and let's take a look at make sure they got a receipt that they bought it from you and they got everything. And let's go through with this. And I said, okay. Hey, so you may be able to offer store credit, you may be able to offer a refund, You may be able to do that. There's rules that each store has about whether you're going to get a refund or not, or a store credit. So just kind of follow those rules, but be very pleasant with them, and welcome them to use the store credit, that you give them, or maybe give them a replacement product if they still want to get another product from you.
Yeah.
But this is like you have to try to resolve it in different ways.
Well,
And
actually, part of the other thing is this is where the legal side comes in. Document everything, and I mean
document
everything.
Like even
Right?
if it seems like you can resolve the claim, still document it,
Yeah,
because
and
you don't want 6 months
afterwards,
later to have a plaintiff claim arrive.
yeah, and afterwards, after you've had to finish the client meeting, sit down and have your member of staff who was the witness sit down and have them write out in full. Give them half an hour, however long they need to write an incident report. Write that full incident report. Make sure it's filed in your system. Just document everything.
Yep. And that's just in case, like if there's, like, say if this customer comes back and then there's a plaintiff claim, then you can pull that out and say, okay, we have all of this. This is the policy. This is what they paid. This is what we offered, and so forth. And
Yep.
then going to court or wherever you're going to be going for resolution of this problem, you have most of it beat.
Yeah. And now, of course, the other thing about that is in all of that process, don't engage in name calling. You bloody this, you bloody that. This is how the client likely comes in, right? Yeah. Don't do that. They may be the worst client you have ever had, but don't be part of it.
Just say, okay. I say, can we talk about this sensibly? Calm down, right? And if you start calling into name calling, all it's going to do is escalate the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's no point in you bastard. It's like it's not getting anybody anywhere, is it?
And all everybody else has to do is make popcorn and watch.
You friggin' this and you friggin' that, and like if one side's doing that, I get it, but the other side doesn't need to be playing along.
And that's why you really have to work on the de-escalation tactics.
Yeah.
Okay? People who are legitimately upset can be de-escalated. I've de-escalated a lot of people from very serious issues. Where they're standing on top of a chair, screaming at everybody and throwing things around a drop-in center. I managed to get that person de-escalated and calmed down, and then sitting down to tell me what her real problem was. So we were able to start resolving that and take steps to help her.
I'm going to add a further one for this list is, and this is really a last resort. If necessary, be prepared to call the police or have a member of your staff call the police.
Yep, exactly.
Have a
that's what the police are there for. Yeah. Right? But don't call the police every time, because it's known as a police caller.
Yeah. And essentially what you need to do if you're going to call the police is say something like, if you continue with Angela, calm. If you continue with this line of accusations, I will have no choice but to call the police. Do you want me to do that?
Yep, first of all, you have to ask them to leave your premises, right? If they're continuing to act in that way. And you tell them several times to leave their premises, and in front of witnesses, you ask them to leave the premises. And then if they don't leave the premises and then they just continue to throw tantrums or throw themselves on the floor or that sort of thing, and then you have to say, okay, I might have to call the police if you're going to continue to act this way. And again, don't yell at them. Just say, I'm going to continue. You're going to have to call the police if you're going to continue to act this way. So, and yes, and if they do continue, do call the police. And you know what's amazing that I found on the few times that I've ever had to do that? Calm all of a sudden. Many times you will stay until the police arrive.
Actually, I heard of a situation, never happened to me, but I heard of a situation whereby somebody actually called the police. So once they called the police and the police said, yeah, we'll be there as when we can. Absolute silence entered. This was the first time it was absolute silent.
Yeah.
The person just sitting there saying, okay, I'm here for when they're coming. You're in trouble now.
Yeah, like I had somebody in one of my offices who was like that and through that, and she was actually pushing me around physically. I said, "Hey, get your hands off of me, or else I might have to charge you with assault. Right? You cannot be putting your hands on me or anybody else in here." And my secretary at that time called the police, and she said, "Tell her not to call the police." And I said, "Well, she has a right to a safe workplace. If she doesn't feel safe, she has a right to call the police."
Yeah.
Right? And well, I'm going to be sitting here until the police come. I said, "You can do what you like." Right? And I gave her a chair so that she could sit down on it and wait for the police. And she did.
I bet, right? I'm right.
Oh my
I'm right. I'm always right. You should always know that because I'm right.
God.
Isn't that the attitude?
Yep, exactly. And of course, they think that they're going to argue and try to make their case to the police when they arrive. Hey, and I'm not interested in making a case to the police. I just want the person out of there. Right? You can trespass them, over time if they're a regular Karen or a Kevin. Hey, hey, you can decide that you don't want them at your business anymore, particularly if they come in and regularly cause problems. Most of the
Well,
time, you'll have somebody who's a one-off and they won't come back.
yeah, I
But
was going to say the one-off customer. Well, obviously they're not a one-off if they're coming back with an issue. I bought a stove from you 3 months ago. Now I turn it on and all it does is click. Nothing happens. Now fix this, and clearly when you've got an issue, it started somewhere, right? So we have to in part of that is you have to recognize that there was an issue. You might deny that there was a fault with what you sold them, but there's an issue somewhere down the line.
yeah, sometimes 95% of these things, sometimes these things are communication. Okay, if there's an issue there that that's happening, sometimes it's better for you to be upfront with the client.
Yeah.
And say, "I just want to bring you in. I just want to tell you something." I said, "We sold you a dud product."
That actually may diffuse the whole issue.
Yeah.
But again, here's the thing: is
And this is
probably
what we're going to do about it. And we want to help you out the best we can so that we can provide support so that you're not left hanging.
Yeah, but a lot of, there's, if we look back on the history of sales, and, stores and things like that, there's probably been a person, it's like, so you go into the brick and you buy a new cooker, and lo and behold, in 3 months' time, the thing just dies. Well, it happens to be on the same day that the store, the franchisee of the store picks up a report that says the XYZ cooker of this brand number has got a known fault on it that it means that typically after about 6 or 8 months worth of usage, the light might just fail to turn on, etc. So, and kind of, so the customer comes in heavily complaining about that, and you go, did this happen? Right? Because you read the report. It's probably going to diffuse the whole issue right there and then.
Yeah. And I said, "It looks like we've been getting a lot of those." Eh? And I said, "Bought in China, right?" So what we do is we just say, "Okay, we're going to have to contact the manufacturer, because I hear that there's a lot of problems, a very specific problem that you've identified here, and we'll see what we can do." And then after the manufacturer, they may choose to issue a recall.
Yeah.
And then you, as a store owner, you can send letters to every one of the people that you sold that thing to and let them know that there's a recall, and you can get it fixed for free at the manufacturer's expense.
And I think that the point being is that there's sometimes there are certainly things where there's nothing you can do, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of in a way, I was always taught that when back in the day that when you're working on a project, and I, as you know, I did a lot of projects over my lifetime. Things go wrong. You've kind of just got to go up. You've got to put your hand up and say, "I'm sorry, we cocked up." Right? Don't know who did it. It's just we did something wrong. You've got the wrong piece of software. We need to fix this. We need to do the X and Y and Z.
Yeah.
Right? It's the way.
These are the steps that we will be taking.
Yeah.
Okay. And
but again,
see what we can do to help you, to try to help direct the situation.
Yeah. But there's going to be some other times, and particularly we were talking about Karens and Kevins here. And I think we talked about the possibility, if necessary, you can call the police. But then the other thing is you might need to actually make a decision as to whether you're going to disengage with the customer.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
basically means,
like, say for instance, like there's different types of businesses out there. Like there are customers that are very regular customers to a business. Like say if you own a gym and you have people coming in all the time, and the same people come in all the time, but one person starts turning into a Karen or a Kevin, and they start causing all kinds of problems in your gym. Maybe perhaps you had to deal with pandemic restrictions, or maybe perhaps your price went up, or something happened that got this customer's ire, and now this person just won't get off your back for this sort of thing. And you have to decide, do I really need this type of customer? Do I really need this headache? So you might have to make a decision in some cases to disengage that customer. Write a letter to them saying that thank you, but no thanks, and you cannot come back.
Yeah. And again, that's typically, of course, where the bar is basically saying, Angela, you're banned for life.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. You don't want to do that unless you have to.
Yeah, okay. I know.
Yeah, I know. Because you have to make sure that there's a good reason why. And there are people who really wear out their welcome mats very fast.
Yeah. Okay. But in all of this, there's got to be some legal risk.
Yeah, there are legal risks. Somebody will accuse you of banning them from the gym because of some reason. There was a case a few years back that somebody decided that they were banned from the gym because they were transgender. I don't even think the person knew anything about that person's identity.
I was just going to say, likely the gym owner didn't have a clue about who they were.
Same as I have another one who refused to deal with this guy. He did not want to rent him an apartment. Not because of that, because he wasn't renting at the time, and the person was harassing him all the time about getting a room and so forth. And then he found somebody, and the guy was just fixing everything up and repairing everything. He wasn't even putting it out for rent yet. Then the guy decided to file a human rights complaint against him, and he says he won't rent me a room because I'm gay. And the guy doesn't even know the guy. And he says, I don't care if he's gay, and if he is gay, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, and maybe with a supposition of, yes, so long as he doesn't try it on with me. Right.
Well, let's just swing both ways. Who cares?
Yeah, I know, but hey, that's kind of often the way people look at things. Like,
exactly. Like this is where it is. Like where you're risking somebody coming up with allegations. And this is why there's also allegations where, especially if there's a male person dealing with a female customer, make sure there's a female witness in the room, right? With the male staff person. Right?
So, hi Betty, thank you for staying with us.
Oh God, it was really good, Betty, that you come in and stay with the show there. It's pretty good.
All right.
Yeah, this is another thing too, because say for instance a male staff person starts talking to the female staff person, and you need a witness, make sure it's a female witness, because there could be allegations, because then that person will go back to the police and say, this guy sexually assaulted me. Right?
Okay, so make sure it's a female witness. Yeah, but what if the only other employee in the place is a male?
Yeah, that's kind of problematic, but always try to get as much as you can, or even if you have to film everything, right?
Yeah.
Like go in front of a camera somewhere, right?
Well, I was going to say that actually we are now getting into the state where almost I need to clip my, body thing on here as
We
my
all got to have
camera,
body cams on us.
my own body cam, right? So
Yeah,
I'm carrying around my body cam, and here's where I'm doing it, right? So,
yeah,
I'm walking everywhere with my body cam on.
yep,
Fashion or not?
exactly. Because people make these strange allegations. The person doesn't like this guy because he owns a store and he's usually at the
Mm,
store, but he didn't like this person because she was very rude to him, not treating the store manager or his staff properly, and he asked her to leave. And like these are things that you have to really be careful, just to be very careful. Things have to be documented,
yeah.
filmed in camera view, because a lot of stores have cameras now. Make sure everything's in view of a camera.
And talking about stores and cameras, right? The ones that are kind of often up here, or those kind of places. Most store workers know where the cameras are,
Yeah,
and probably the wise thing to do would be to move the person around so that if the camera's over here, that their picture is well seen by the camera.
yeah.
And you can adjust and move people around by just if you angle how you're talking to them,
Yeah,
they'll
you'll
move.
kind of say how you're facing them this way, and then you turn around a little bit so that person will start standing here automatically
Yeah,
in full view with the camera.
yeah.
Right?
And the point being is that those cameras are there precisely for that reason. They may not actually record what was said, right?
Hmm.
You may have to remember what was said because most store cameras are not. And somebody's going to actually say I'm wrong. I guarantee it. As soon as I make these statements, they'll say I'm wrong. But most store cameras, to my knowledge, don't carry audio
Hmm. Yeah,
because
and this is
store audio
where
can be
a lot of these
confusing.
things, like sometimes you can make it play a record audio by clicking on a recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, depends. There's so many different kinds
Well,
of cameras.
it depends upon whether there's a CCTV
Yeah,
operator, I guess. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Right. But generally speaking, I think the stores don't record audio because you get 100 people in a store. That's a lot
yeah.
of.
You don't want to record 100 different conversations every three
No,
hours.
no, you
Yeah,
certainly don't.
and then go through all that video.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
the
so
job.
so we've been talking really about making sure that you document everything that happened and keep an incident report and keep it. All right, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of rules about, you go into any store, probably most stores, RBC Bank across the road, Home Depot, Giant Tiger. They've all got probably staff policies about recording incident recording, that sort of thing. Basically, do the incident report. Basically, make sure the member of staff has time to write the incident report. Don't hurry them. Basically, get them to do the whole incident report.
Like
And
give
you've
them
got
a
to,
break and let them go write the
yeah,
incident report. Yeah.
yeah. And also, the other thing about that is that it might well be important to consider the mental health of that person who might well have been either the person who the complaint was made against or the member of staff who witnessed it.
Yep. There
Right?
has been situations in different stores where I've talked to and they've been robbed.
Mm,
Like somebody goes up to them with a gun and tells them to give them all their cash, and I want a bunch of cigarettes and all that other stuff, and they make off with it. I mean, people do this,
yeah.
and the people
Even,
behind the counter are minimum wage workers, often single parents, people who don't really
even
have a
hearing,
lot of power
yeah,
or a lot of wages, and they're not certainly not wearing Kevlar vests.
yeah.
Right? So this is the type of thing where people are feeling very vulnerable. So I think that I think it's right now with, especially with alcohol being now sold in these same places, that there has to be a lot more care kept about people's mental health. Maybe having more than one person on staff at all times,
Yep.
okay, to protect the interest of other people. Because when you just have one person on staff, they could be they can be an instant victim.
Oh,
For
yeah.
somebody who wants to go in there and take beer and
Well,
everything else and walk out.
one key factor, of course, is that there needs to be staff training about how to handle awkward clients.
Yeah, and awkward clients don't necessarily have to be the Karens and Kevins. Some
Yeah.
of them could
Oh,
be
yeah.
people with disabilities or
Yeah.
people who are elderly and may not know exactly what they want. Some of them could be deaf or something like that too, so that you can kind of know how to work with different people. Okay, so that they would have, so they'd be more helpful to members of the public. Because this is what I always talk about when you're running a business that serves the public. Okay, because the public is a very broad spectrum of people. Okay, it's not like we're just serving business people or not just serving students or
Well, but you see,
serving a range.
but again, some businesses are very, some businesses are very focused on individuals. We got a printing shop across the road from us. You're not just going to go, you're not just going to go shopping in a printing shop. You're not browsing in a printing shop, are you?
No,
Right? You're actually
not much
going
to
to get
browse.
something printed, right?
Not much
You,
to browse, unless you
yeah,
want to talk to a staff member about a design of a flyer or something,
yeah.
and then they would help you with that.
You're being much more specific. And again, you're not going to go into an RBC unless you're thinking about opening an account with an RBC or you're a pre-existing customer, right?
Yeah, or go to a bookstore. A lot of people go to bookstores to
Yeah,
browse,
yeah,
and then they
exactly.
eventually buy something.
Exactly. So you different profiles for different businesses.
Different businesses have
Yeah.
different types of attractiveness,
Yeah.
and they generally attract people. But a legal firm like ours, we've served everyone ranging from homeless people to millionaires. And
Yeah.
rational, sane, intelligent people, very organized, down to people who are so disorganized that we practically have to hold their hand. But that's what you do, because you are
Well,
serving the public.
yeah, but again, it was beholden to put upon you to kind of have company policies for all of these types of things,
Yeah,
really.
and how you deal with things.
Yeah.
You know, there's always things like that. Restaurants are the same thing. They serve whoever comes in.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
I happen to like to come into the Swiss Chalet, and you bring people in and they have it. You'll have lots of different types of people that come into the Swiss Chalet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole point is that, the whole point here is that I think that, every business has different policies.
And the different profile.
Yeah, and different profile. And at the end of the day, every customer, every company needs a policy that dictates what they do about anything that they do. And the Karens and Kevins of this world, we need policies for them.
Yep. I remember Ted Meradian. I don't know if you remember him.
And
he was a speaker and motivational speaker here in St. Catharines. He ran once for the NDP, and he's had his own shop where he took care of workplace bullying and training people in workplaces to be more motivated and so forth. He once talked about the 2% of our society.
Okay.
And we have all these jails, all these rules, all these prisons, prison guards, laws, courts, everything else. And he said all of these things are built for the 2% of our society. The rest of us get along fine. We don't need these things.
I'm sorry, but prisons are built for the 2% of our society.
Yeah,
I don't think so somehow.
Yeah.
I think they might be built by the 2% for the people that the Karens and Kevins would be welcome to go there. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The 2% would include the Karens and Kevins and people who are violent and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But when he was talking about it, he was saying that if most people just acted if everybody acted like most people do, we may not need these things. But I remember him talking about it, about This is more of another 2% thing.
Yeah.
You could say.
And obviously, policy might dictate what happens. Part of that policy is going to be a list of reasons why we may or may not want this individual to continue to be a customer.
Yep, because sometimes there are individuals who will come in here, and particularly those, well, in a law firm like ours, we don't have a lot of people who will come in threatening violence or throwing tantrums.
Yeah, but you see, for example,
Occasionally we might have one, but most of the time what we have is people who don't pay retainers, don't pay follow-ups, or decide just not to pay anything but expect us to do everything. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's ways that we do things in saying that unless we get paid this much money, we have to disengage.
And Robert says, then you have the 1% that don't give a crap.
They get banned too. Ban them too.
But again, in that regard, in terms of company policies, etc., etc. Okay, so, hey, my company's got $1 million contract with your company, and now I've been a complete asshole. Are you going to break the contract?
Yeah.
Possibly not. Possibly not. Right?
You gotta be kind of careful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are areas where you'd start engaging in other ways, like mediation.
Yeah.
And other types of ways, so that you could develop what we call a way of doing business under some difficult circumstances.
And in that circumstance that I've just said, there might be a lecture coming that, hey, Peter, I know your business and ours need each other at this juncture. What the product you're delivering to us is absolutely essential for our continued performance. Here on, but I'm sorry, but your behavior is not acceptable.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
That type of thing
we
might
need to end this behavior, or we might have to consider discontinuing.
Yeah.
Okay? Like this is the type of thing, like you have to be, but things have to work themselves up. It's the same thing when we talked about how employers sometimes have to terminate employees, when there's issues where you have to go for verbal warning, written warning, and performance improvement programs, things like that.
And we were talking about it. That's about escalation, really.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing here we did talk about calling the police. But again, I think the question here is that we did say about that, and I think it's realistically a case of you call the police if nothing else works, because
there are some people you can't help, that you won't be able to de-escalate it if certain circumstances, certain places.
But sometimes showing them the door might well be the best approach.
Like I always tell people, I said, there's a door. I said, did you know what doors are for? They can be used.
Well, and your approach might well be, it's clear we've discussed this for now the last 20 minutes. It's clear that we're not coming to a resolution. How about leaving here right now? If you want, I'm happy to talk tomorrow. Right? Yeah. If you've got anything, if you think there's a way we can resolve this, I'm happy to talk tomorrow. But
and many times it also depends on the past relationship. Like say if you had a good personal relationship or a client relationship with someone for 20 years.
Yeah.
You've been great for 20 years. But then all of a sudden they turn overnight and metamorphosize into a Karen or a Kevin. Then you have to say, what happened? Okay?
And chances
you're not going to drop that person, tell them to go to hell. They said, okay, I think things are not working out right now. Okay? Can we talk later next week, perhaps, when things have calmed down a bit?
And the chances are what'll end up happening is tomorrow you'll get a call. Angela, I'm sorry. My wife just left me, and I took it out on you. Sorry about that.
Yep, and that happens.
That's the thing, right?
That happens. Okay? Because people take things out on people they are close to or know well. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
You go home and you kick the dog. And if they start kicking dogs and cats, I'm going to be I'm going to become very active.
And we don't recommend that at
No,
all.
we don't, because I'll become very active, and and you won't like it.
And there are, but again, at the end of the day, you mentioned earlier on mediation. Mediation's a point whereby, especially when you've got ongoing legal relations between companies, I talked about some multi-million dollar contracts, let's say, that were happening between you and my company, right? Well, you don't just pull out of that in a 5-minute, in 5 minutes.
Like a shipping contract, a shipping company has a contract with the manufacturer, and then it breaks down because of certain issues, right? And then people are exchanging words, swearing at each other, and so forth. And they said, no, it's better to put a mediator in there who's going to talk to the parties that are in dispute, identify the issues, and then put them into some kind of mediation agreement.
Yeah, and maybe it's because, hey, we've been using a contractor in Southeast Asia that can't deliver on time, and that's the cause of all of our problems right now. Change that contractor, maybe we get a better deal.
Yeah. Or maybe we can try to save some costs on doing certain things.
Exactly.
Okay, that will benefit both parties.
Yeah, all of those kind of things help both parties, and sometimes that's all that there is.
Yeah.
The problem lies with somebody else, and you just lies somewhere else, and you've just got to figure out a way to actually get back, re-engage, and start again.
Yeah, exactly. And these are things where we look at it, because the whole thing involves conflict resolution, and there's different stages of conflict resolution.
Well, I had a mediation for a software contract where one company was using a software company, and the software company weren't being able to deliver it on time because things had gone wrong with their software. Right. And part of the problem here is it escalated because nobody is like, I'm not admitting that my software's got a problem. Right? I'm sitting on my hands.
That's a piece of shit.
I'm sitting on my hands. I'm sitting on my hands. I'm whipping my my programmers, but I'm sitting on my hands when I'm in your office because I don't want you to criticize my software.
Yeah. Right? Even though you know and that I know your software is a piece of crap.
Yeah. Yeah, but the point being is that there are ways, and it may well be that all we need is one, is, hey, we need to find that semicolon on,
Yeah, we need to find the troubleshooting.
Yeah.
To go back into the program, like when you troubleshoot to see where all the code, because it could have been coded issue, different issues.
Well, the worst one that I ever had when I was a computer programmer was a colon that should have been in column 8 and it was in column 7.
Ooh, yuck! That could mess it up.
Yeah, and what happened is I had this computer operator. He's just standing, he came in because they did in the break. They'd often come into our room. We'd often go to the tea room, but he was coming in because he's saying, let's go have coffee. And he leans over the top and says, "What's that?" I hadn't seen it, couldn't see it.
Oh God.
Yep. All right. And once I saw that, I went, "Oh my God, I've been chasing that for 3 days." It happens, but hey, we always want, and I think most people we want to resolve problems, and certainly in the legal industry, we're here to resolve problems.
Yeah, we get paid to both create problems and to resolve them. Sometimes we create problems because somebody else is doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So what we do is go there and create problems for that person. Or somebody comes to us and they're having problems because somebody else is causing problems for them. So then we help resolve them.
Yeah. Okay. And I think on that point, we can kind of bring this program to an end. So if you need to contact Invictus Legal LLP, you can do so on 905-688-5598. or you can email Angela at angela@weareinvictus.legal or myself at peter@weareinvictus.legal. And you can go to our website, https weareinvictus.legal. There you go. And as with every single show, this is the most important thing, and Angela takes joy over this.
Oh, yeah, right. So, what you've heard today on Spin Legal, whether this show or another earlier in the series, it is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, then please contact a paralegal or a lawyer. And we love you to call our firm if you need to talk to us about anything. But you can talk to a paralegal or a lawyer, because we would rather seek you the proper legal advice than for you to do something that sounds like it. And that includes you just don't go home and kick your dog or cat.
Yeah, don't do that. But I think most people. Hey, I was watching this cat video the other day, and I have to say that cats around the world are loved creatures, aren't they? People everywhere in the world just love creatures. Them. Yeah,
they're so calm and they're so loving. Hey, I have 4.
I don't have any, except I seem to have a ghost cat right now.
Yeah, maybe that ghost cat wants to live with you.
Yeah. Well, Melly's come back as a ghost.
Take him home.
Melody has come back as a ghost.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great day. And we'll be back here next week. We don't know. We haven't got a topic for next week, but if anybody thinks about one, we'll happily have you. We'll happily do something that you might well want us to talk about. But until next week, this is Spin Legal, us signing out from Spin Legal, and we will wish you a good week. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye.